Water District meeting of May 25th to order.
Cindy?
Yes. Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Okay. Please, I would like to take a minute to, for a moment of silence in recognition of the tragedy down in Texas. So if you'll all join me in just.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Now let's call the meeting to order, and if you'll all join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, can we have the roll call, Kate?
Director Underhill,
Here.
Director Ratterman,
Here.
Director Davidson,
Here.
Director Thomas,
I'm here.
President Cicada.
I'm here. All right, thank you, Kate. Moving on to public comment. At this time, members of the public may address the board on any non-agendized item. The public is encouraged to work through staff to place items on the agenda for board consideration. No action can be taken on matters not listed on the agenda. Comments are limited to 3 minutes per person. Do I have any public comment here in the, seeing none, anything online?
No hands up, no.
All right, no public comment. And we can do the consent agenda. We have 3A, approval of minutes for the board meeting of April 27th and report of the monthly investment transactions for March of 2022.
Move for acceptance.
Second?
All right, can we get we have a motion and a second. Can we get a roll call vote on that, Kate?
Director Underhill,
Yes.
Director Ratterman,
Yes.
Director Davidson,
Yes.
Director Thomas,
Yes.
President Cicada.
Yes. Okay, in anticipation of waiting for Julio to join us, we're going to move down to item 7A, new business, and then we'll go back to 4 when we have Julio and everyone here. So 7A, update on the drought executive order and the East Side Groundwater Sustainability Agency. Sorry for the problem talking again.
No problem. And good afternoon, board members.
Hi, Brad.
Hi, everyone. We're going to provide a quick update. I know it's a little bit behind maybe on the late March governor's executive order that came out, but there's been some recent developments there that we just feel are worth updating the board on of where we're at. How is this going to affect us moving forward through this persistent drought conditions that we're seeing? Recall in this order in late March that it essentially required the state board to formulate and put together concepts and requirements for water suppliers to move into stage 2 of their water shortage contingency plans, equivalent to essentially a 20% reduction on gross volume used. Not only that, but the state was supposed to contemplate what non-functional turf definitions look like in the CII sector to prohibit the use of potable water on those systems, and to really put together some additional details on reporting of how we put together our water supply and demand assessments, for instance, putting together a preliminary version now for the state, as well as a final version that'll be due in July here. There was also quite a bit of information in there related to SGMA, the Sustainable Groundwater Management Act, in terms of for medium or high priority wells needing to now obtain a written determination from applicable GSAs, groundwater sustainability agencies, for making sure that any new well permits that come out in portions of the subbasin don't affect other local well owners, especially those vulnerable domestic wells, and also don't impact the ability of the GSA to achieve their groundwater sustainability plan objectives. Beyond that, there was a lot of expedited state regulatory pathways for things like modifying, repairing, or reconstructing small wells, some CEQA exemptions for recharge conjunctive projects. But the key things to point out to the board here are the stage 2 shortage plans that I mentioned, as well as the SGMA requirements. Regarding the timing here, we just saw yesterday, as a matter of fact, that the state board finally adopted the date that we're going to need to click into stage 2 of the water shortage plan. That's now June 10th. So I'll have more information on what stage 2 looks like, what we're contemplating regarding enforcement actions, monitoring and whatnot in the next board meeting on June 8th before that June 10th deadline. So we'll come with an actual agenda item to move into stage 2. Recall that the board here moved into stage 1 last July, given the drought at that time, which was mostly voluntary actions. And moving forward with things like Calaveras Conserves, Jessica has been doing a lot of outreach on drought, et cetera. Regarding the actual Sigma content now, we've been working with our Eastside GSA partners because as this is written in the governor's executive order, any well permitting we see, including de minimis pumpers of less than 2 acre feet, now need to get some sort of written determination from the GSA as to they're not going to impact our ability to achieve sustainability, it's consistent with the plan, et cetera. This has put a lot of additional work on the GSA, which quite frankly has been a lot of CCWD work participating in that group. We've already seen a number of well permits coming that way. Fortunately, to date, they've been mostly small, but now we're starting to see some of the big pumpers as well.
Is that like, for instance, me having a well, if I was in the area,
That would be if you wanted to put in or rehab, do some sort of major rehab to your well facilities that required a permit from the county. Part of that process would now involve going to the GSA if you're
if
within.
you live within the
Exactly,
boundaries.
yes.
Not for residential wells though, so
Oh, that's a good point.
Yeah,
actually.
so
Yeah.
That's what I was wondering. Is
If
there
it's 2
really-
acre
Sorry, that's a
feet,
good point.
2 acre feet or below, which is, is
Normal.
typically the single family residence. Those are exempt from the executive order, but anything above that would require, and we have already had applications for wells that are larger than that.
I assume you're starting a business.
Who will monitor that?
Great question.
You guys will.
Yeah, that's a great question. And we're working through that right now with the Eastside GSA. Right now, we're still working under the existing MOU, which was really put together solely to develop the GSP that was submitted back in 2018. Now that we're moving into the implementation phases, admittedly, we're struggling with a bit of whose roles and responsibilities are there between us, the county, the portions of Stanislaus County that we're now responsible for, I guess, to do these sort of well permitting reviews. Yeah.
And it's something that we've been actively working on. So we have a draft of an amendment. There's, I think, kind of 2 separate processes going on right now where a draft of the current, an amendment to the current MOU that would allow or create a process for the GSA to review. And I don't want to use the word approve because the GSA doesn't approve projects. It doesn't approve well permits. It doesn't certify CEQA documents, but at least review and respond to the permitting agency, which would either be Calaveras County or Stanislaus County, and provide them with a determination as to whether the application, granting the application would be consistent with the groundwater sustainability plan or not. So there's some nuance in the language there, and we're going to be very careful about how that's worded and how that's handled. But that's what we're working on right now, just as a short term, because we don't want to hold up well permit applications because of all of this, bureaucratic nightmare that we're dealing with. So we're trying to get that through quickly, so that the counties can still be responsive to well permit applications and get well permits approved under the new executive order. And at the same time, though, it's brought into focus some of the issues, the larger governance issues that we need to resolve for the GSA going forward. So both of those things are
Yeah.
in process.
Because I just want to, emphasize the fact that the last time we went through this, and this has been a few years ago, about working with the county, the county was not really in a position to talk water. And so that's one of the things that I want to make sure that is,
They've been much more responsive of late. I would say probably over the last year. One of the challenges I think is just turnover, and so we're working with different people and getting everybody up to speed. And Sigma is can be a kind of a complicated issue to deal with, and it's not really the core focus of the county. So, but they've dedicated resources to it. They've dedicated staff time to it. They are working with us very closely on this.
Okay,
Yeah, they provided an update to their board of supervisors at the latest meeting as well, which contained a lot of the information.
who's the rep from on the board?
Well, so that's actually, I was just going to point out, they've taken a much more active role to the point where Director Thomas, who was our GSA's
Right.
representative on the Groundwater Authority Board for many years, has now stepped aside from that role, and Supervisor Tofinelli is the GSA's representative. And Supervisor Fullendorf has also been involved, along with County Counsel's office and the CAO's office. So,
Well, I'm glad to hear that involvement. Yes, uh-huh.
I'd like to interject that I'm still working as the alternate to Supervisor Tofinelli on the GSA.
All right.
Yeah.
Is that it?
Yeah, that's all we've got. Again, more to come next board meeting with it regards to stage 2 developments and moving into that per the order.
Great. Thank you, Brad.
Yep.
Is there any public comment online? And no one here? All right.
Great.
Thank you, Brad.
Thank you.
Michael, where do you want to go from here?
I think we can go ahead and get started. We have enough, I think, pinch hitters to,
All right,
there you go, right?
We're going to move on to item 4A, new business, discussion action regarding approval of issuance of tax exempt bonds to finance various water and sewer capital projects. And we have Mr. Jeff Land.
Yes, good afternoon, members of the board. This is Jeff Land, Oppenheimer. I'm serving as the placement agent for the district. It's a pleasure to be here in person. I did have the opportunity to work with the district last year, but everything was done remotely. So this is sure is nice to see you all here today. What we have right now is the culmination of the financing process, which is what has been presented to you. It's a resolution to approve an execution delivery of the water project installment purchase contract and a wastewater project installment purchase contract, and the authorizing execution of all other necessary documents and related actions. So this is the big moment. What we did is we have 2 projects, right? You have your water system projects, you have your wastewater system projects. So they were broken up between 2 different banks that are covering these. So we have 2 different closing dates. For the water project, which is the larger set of projects, our closing date is set for June 1st if you approve the resolution. So we're very close to, it's a pretty short time frame between now and then. For the wastewater project, that closing date is June 12th. So that's, I believe it's June 12th. And so there's a little bit more time between this board approval and that closing. So what we can do is we can discuss what has happened up until now, and then answer any questions you may have regarding the legal documents. Albert Reyes from Kutak Rock, I believe, is on the line. Albert, if you are here, can you say I'm here?
Yes, I'm here.
Oh,
So
hi, Albert.
we have Albert Reyes
Hi,
on the
guys.
line. And so he's available to answer any questions you may have on the legal documents. But at this time, I just want to talk about where we were, what's been the process of the financing leading up to it. So on the 13th of April, we presented to the board the results of our lender RFP process, in which we went out to procure interest rates, making sure that we had a competitive process. So we were canvassing the entire market to make sure that what you are getting are the most optimal competitive rates that the market can offer. I will say that at that period of time, it was the time to get out to the market and have interest rates, the ability to lock in an interest rate. Because as you may be aware, we have entered into a rising interest rate environment with the recent Fed action, inflation. So it was certainly advantageous that we got into the market when we did. So just to go over some of the stats from that result of that RFP process. For the water projects, we were able to get a 20-year loan from Webster Bank at an interest rate of 2.94%. So right now, in this market, to get anything under 3% is a huge, it might mean, oh, Are we better now? Oh, my velvet voice. Now you got it. Okay, so we were able to get something below 3% from Webster Bank, which is a huge win for the district right in this current interest rate environment. For the sewer projects, we got a loan from First Foundation Bank, 20 years, same term, but you can see 3.20%. So you see there's a big variance. And I believe, I'm just going off memory, but the range of interest rates was between 2.94 and 4%. So it was a huge range of interest rates that we received from that RFP process, which just always demonstrates it's always good to know what the market's, what's out there in the market to make sure you have the full idea of what's the best offer.
Why was that one more? Because less money we're borrowing?
Yeah, so it really had to do with the fact that it wasn't less money, it's a credit factor. So it's just not to say that it's a poor credit, it's just that the water fund was showing a stronger credit in the market, was able to get a stronger interest rate. The wastewater loan wasn't showing as strong. We weren't able to actually get Webster Bank, who's taking your water loan, did not qualify the wastewater loan. Okay, so our options were a little bit more limited. Not to say that you got a bad interest rate even, but it was just a different, that just shows you kind of some of the nuts and bolts of the process and why it does take a concerted effort to obtain these interest rates. The huge advantage that we did have, as I said, by getting into the market when we did, was we were able to actually lock in those interest rates at the time. And if you have your staff report out there, you can kind of see that interest rate lock really has saved the district a whole lot of money. And the table below does provide a summary of the average 20-year rate for tax-exempt AA rated bonds. So you can see the municipal market data, which is an index that we track with. You can see how that has moved for tax-exempt rates. From April 8th to May 16th, it's moved a significant amount. Throughout that entire time, as the interest rates have moved up, your rate has been held. So like I said, that's part of that advantage to utilizing the direct placement method of sale. It's why it's more beneficial right now in this current interest rate environment than maybe going out to the public market and selling bonds, because you're just subject to wherever the pricing is the day you sell your bonds. So those are some of the background regarding our loans that we have. Any questions thus far on this? Nope. So in conclusion, the board is being asked to approve these resolutions and to execute the accompanying legal documents, which would be, assignment agreements and the installment sale agreements to facilitate the two private placement loans. And just so you know how the source of repayment is structured for the water loan, it is structured by net revenues from your water system. On your sewer system loan, it's structured with net revenues from your sewer system. With regard to cost of issuance, there is separate cost of issuance for each transaction. The water loan has a cost of issuance of $100,000, and the wastewater loan has a cost of issuance of $110,000. You would maybe wonder, why is there a differential between the two? And the reason why you have different costs of issuance is you have a different bank. First Foundation Bank is doing the wastewater loan. They have a fee for their legal counsel to review documents. With that, I do want to allow the board to ask any questions of Albert Reyes, who is on the line.
Any questions?
I have no questions.
No, none for me.
Russ, do you have any questions for Albert or for Jeff? That matter.
No, I am clear on all this. Thank you.
Okay.
And I don't see Jeff.
So I just want to clarify, it's Albert Reyes. Just want to clarify, the board, as the district board, is taking action right now solely on the district resolution, which that resolution approves both transactions, the water and the wastewater transaction. There's a separate resolution for the authority, which you guys will meet as the board for that entity, after this approval, and then adopt that resolution. So I just want to make sure that there's two separate actions taken with respect to the approvals, one for the district resolution and the one for the authority resolution.
And we do have it set up that way, Albert.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, I saw that in the agenda. I just want to just clarify that, so that's good.
And I just wanted to clarify that for the water fund, it was, what is that, 17,832,000 in loan proceeds. Whereas in the sewer, it's 11 million and change in bond proceeds. And that goes back to the fact that our,
You know, that's, we apologize, Director. They're both loans. We're not doing.
oh, okay.
Both loans,
Oh,
no bonds.
okay.
No bonds here.
Oh, all right.
Well, I'll go ahead and make a motion adopting this resolution authorizing the execution and delivery by the district of a water project installment purchase agreement, a wastewater project installment purchase contract, and authorizing the execution of other necessary documents and related actions. With one quick question, who is the executive director of the authority? Okay,
That is your general manager.
okay.
And, okay, well, we should get a second first, and then I have one more
Right.
quick comment or
Oh.
point to address.
I'll be glad to second that motion.
All right, so we have a,
Russ is second.
we have a first and a second with first with Scott, a second with Russ. Michael, you want to respond to that? question?
Well, no, I don't want to necessarily respond to that, but yes, the GM of CCWD is the executive director of the PFA. And the
I just
CCWD
didn't remember
board
how
is
that
the
was set
board
up.
of the
Yeah.
PFA as well. I guess.
All right,
The other point I just wanted to raise really quickly, because this is happening in parallel to our budget development process, and we just had a review of the draft budget with the finance committee yesterday. And really the impact of this of these loans on the budget is a shift of R&R expenditures that we historically are accustomed to seeing in the CIP budget to the operations budget. So it's about $2 million a year in debt service that it looks like and it is a significant increase in the operations budget because it's debt service, and that's where debt service lives compared to spending it on infrastructure, which would have been done through the CIP. So I just raised that as it's not we're still, this is what we anticipated. We're dedicating R&R funds to the debt service and using the loan proceeds for the CIP projects. But when the draft budget is sent to the full board, hopefully next week, or well in advance of the next board meeting, you'll see that big increase in debt service payments over the course of the next year. And I wanted to make sure that doesn't take anybody by surprise. That's how this will get paid for.
Loans cost money.
well, before I go to public comment, Michael, regarding the reimbursement resolution
Yeah.
to reimburse us, will that come to the board prior to you using some of these funds for reimbursement? It says the district will be able to reimburse itself for project-related expenditures made within 60 days from February 13th. So does that come to the board? You're going to say, we're going to use X amount towards.
That's a good question.
Project.
I don't know, and this might be a question for Albert. I don't know that board approval is necessarily required for that if it's within the project.
Yeah, that's so.
Okay.
That's correct. So all the board needs to do with respect to reimbursement is to declare that it has an intent to get reimbursed from loan proceeds for expenditures already made within the past 60 days. And that's what you're doing here with the adoption of the resolution. And then after that, there's no other action needed from the board in order to actually reimburse yourself with loan proceeds for those expenditures.
So we've had some discussion among the finance team about how to best use those funds, because I believe, Albert, it can go back more than 60 days for design and engineering costs and environmental, soft costs, as long as it's tied to or associated with one of the projects that we've identified here. So we're going to start the work. Next step is to work with the finance team to identify, the best possible use of these funds. And it may be reimbursement for in some of these projects. We've already expended a significant amount of money on design, efforts. So we're going to work with the finance team to determine what the best possible use of those funds is. And it might very well be that we reimburse ourselves for some of those costs, and that then becomes R&R revenue that we have already spent on these projects that is available for other purposes.
How far back can you go? How far back in,
So I believe it's 60 days for any actual construction or capital costs, capital improvements, but you can go back to the point of project approval. We'll have to define that to the point of
Yes.
project approval for soft costs.
and
Yes,
that
that's-
could
that's
be
correct.
2 years?
It could be, especially in the case if you take the Copper Cove Lift Station project as an example, the design effort on that started before I started here, so more than 3 years ago. I don't know that we would necessarily want to go back that far, but that'll be a question for the finance team to figure out what's the best use of these funds for the district. And even if board approval is not required, we can certainly report back to the board on
Okay.
that.
I would like to see that, but I'm kind of wondering if we've already paid for this work that happened 2 years ago. What's the benefit of reimbursing ourselves? The money, I don't know the benefit on that.
Yeah, so I'm not the expert and I don't know if anybody else wants to chime in on that, but I think the benefit could come in that we take those, we're going to pay debt service on the loan on day one. And so if we apply that and we reimburse ourselves for things that we've already spent that money on, we now have that money sitting in our R&R reserve and available for other things and generating interest.
We'd have money that we spent out of our R&R funds put back in and available for future projects.
Which, right, and as opposed to spending this
No?
down over time, and it will help ensure that we spend the loan proceeds within the window of time that we have, which I'm
Oh,
not
that's
terribly
right. There
concerned
was
about,
that
but
component.
I
That's
think the
what it
sooner the
was.
better. But again, these are considerations. I'm gonna,
Yeah, so
lean on the
kinda
experts and we can report. back.
Doing that, it's we spent it and then it goes into R&R and then we have more time to utilize it towards the project. I asked that before, I think.
Yes, and that is correct. The other part of this process is once we identify the costs, we identify the true funding source. And I'm not saying this is what happened, but possibly some of the costs are paid by operating funds. So if it's paid by operating funds, there's an opportunity to look at this and see, do we really want to reimburse the operating budget? And if it's capital R&R, the whole idea here behind this exercise is to identify all the costs, the funding sources, and then look at the best optimal use of the loan proceeds.
Something that I have said this before, we're borrowing this money and I hope that we get some projects completed. If I would say that we borrow all this money and then we still have projects not completed, that would be, it would be unacceptable in my opinion. We need to have some projects completed. And the other thing, Michael, I'd like to just have some updates. You may not require approval, but I'd like to say out of was it $27 million or whatever, here's how much we spent.
Yeah,
So far,
absolutely.
just a rough, nothing.
My concern is
nothing
that
big.
is almost totally opposite, that we got, and I've expressed this before, that we have too many projects for the size of a crew that we have, too many projects for the size of the district going on at one time. I don't think that's going to be a problem, having projects being worked on and money
No,
spent on.
I want something finished. I don't want to spend all this money and we have 19 projects and at the end of the 27 million, we still have the same 19 projects. That's what I'm afraid of.
Completed projects.
Correct.
Yeah.
And go ahead.
One of the things that once we identify these costs that can be reimbursable, if we do want to, we'll also be taking a look at all the projects at that time and how we plan on completing the projects. These are our list with the best information we have at this time. We will have a plan. Obviously, sometimes costs increase. I mean, we saw that on West Point Wilseyville. Those are kind of out of our control. But the goal is to optimize the use of all these funds.
Well, I still feel that with the cost to build right now, so much higher supplies or, getting the supplies you need, even on top of the cost you're paying. If we can reimburse ourselves, set the money aside and save it when some of those costs go down and like, maybe we don't build or do a project. You know what I mean? Just
Yeah,
set
it gives us
aside
that-
some time.
it gives us
Do the
some
ones that
more-
you have to, like that one water tank that's going to fall down. But,
It gives us some more flexibility, which
Yes.
is always a good thing. But to touch on that point, we wouldn't start a project that we hadn't identified funding to enable us to complete it. So we wouldn't go down that road. But what we do know is, you know, when we started this process 6 months, a year ago, really, we thought we would be able to do more with the amount of funding that we're seeing, you know, available to us than what might be the reality over the next couple of years because of all of those cost increases. So it may decrease the number of projects that we're able to deliver with the same amount of funds, but we're gonna go into that, you know, the project scheduling and project implementation process carefully. You know, we had talked about needing to hire 3 or 4 additional staff potentially to deliver the projects at the pace that we have anticipated in our CIP. But if the project delivery slows down, the rate of, you know, increase in staff may also slow down, or a different balance of staff versus consultant use. We're just going to have to be very careful about how we proceed with this.
Well, one of the things that I'm thinking of is that we prioritize our CIP, right? And, you know, so that should take the biggest emphasis. I mean, this is what we want. This is number one. Hey, let's work on it and get it done. Number two, and so on. I mean,
That's the plan.
Seems easy to me.
yeah.
Okay, so we have a.
You hear that,
first and
John
a
and Charles?
second.
It's easy, right?
Yeah. No, I'm saying if you have number 1 and 2. And yeah, so we have a first and a second. Any other thing from you, Jeff? Thank you. Do we have any public comment? And Jeff or Russ, do either of you have anything more to say before we vote?
No, I'm ready to vote, but I also believe that we don't have a history of not finishing projects.
Perfect. All right, then. We'll go
The
ahead
only
and take.
comment, this is kind of a snarky remark, I admit, but that the reimbursing ourselves for the expenses on those pump facilities in Copperopolis might take all the loan proceeds.
It's in the side for later use, no. All right, good. We're ready for a vote, please.
Director Underhill,
Yes.
Director Ratterman,
Yes.
Director Davidson,
Yes.
Director Thomas,
Yes.
President Cicada.
Yes. All right, so move to item 5. We're going to convene the Public Financing Authority.
No, I don't think so.
Why am I doing okay?
Yeah, I think you're good.
I'm, okay, we're good. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and convene the Public Financing Authority. Do I, wait a minute?
Albert, if you're still on, do they have to close this? I'm just double checking with the.
So you need to break from the district board meeting and then convene the authority board meeting.
So do I need to?
No, we'll just have
We're
the
good.
board meeting and a recess.
All right, and the time for that is, Kate, 1:35. We'll recess the CCWD Water District meeting and we'll now convene the Public Financing Authority meeting. Can I get a roll call, please?
Director Underhill,
Yes.
Director Ratterman,
Here.
Here.
Director Davidson,
Here.
Director Thomas,
Yes, I'm here.
President Cicada.
And I'm here as well. Thank you. All right, so now we're going to move into discussion action regarding authorizing the execution and delivery of installment purchase contracts and assignment agreements relating the issuance of tax exempt bonds to finance water and sewer capital improvements.
Gosh, it sounds very familiar.
I know. And Michael, anybody have any comments? I think we went through most of it.
Yeah, I think we've gone through most of it already. I think
We all good? Russ and Jeff, you good on
we can
there?
respond to questions
Yes.
if there's any questions.
Make a motion.
Yes.
All right, are we ready for a motion?
Okay, I'll make the motion.
Bertha makes a motion to approve resolution 2022 PFA-01.
Mhm.
And can we get a second?
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Do we have any public comment?
No.
All right, seeing none, can we have a roll?
Need those guys?
Russ and Jeff, do you have any comments?
No,
All right,
Nothing snarky, Russ?
Nothing snarky.
all right, Kate, can we get a roll call vote, please?
Director Underhill,
Yes.
Director Ratterman,
Yes.
Director Davidson,
yes,
Director Thomas,
Yes.
President Cicada.
Yes. All right, we have that passed. Thank you, everyone. And we're going to go ahead and adjourn the Public Financing Authority meeting. And now we will, and what time is that? 1:30 something?
37.
And now we will reconvene the regular board meeting at 1:37. So we've already done item 7A, so we're moving on to 8A, reports from general manager.
Moving right along.
I like it.
Um,
Jeff, you happy up there?
yes.
Okay,
Very
this
much.
will be a quick one.
I have about an hour and a half of
No,
reports
you
here.
do not. Don't you remember the limits we placed on your
Get comfortable.
reports?
No problem. My
Uh,
battery's almost dead on my laptop.
Julio's here. Hey, actually, before we move on really quickly, I just want to thank the financing team. You missed the excitement, Julio. It's all right.
My birthday on May 3rd, and I did not know my driver's license was expired.
Oh, no.
So this morning I got in, waited at DMV in Oakland, which never wanted.
Oh, why would you do that?
Should have come to San Andreas. You should have come
Well,
to
we
San Andreas
appreciate
DMV. There's no line.
Exactly.
I wish I was-
But no license.
Oh, I would have loved it. Would have been much faster.
Right. No, it's okay. It all went well. I think we answered all the questions.
Dang, you
Jeff
don't have
stepped
the
in and pinch hit beautifully.
You did a great job.
Yeah.
So we've already approved both of the resolutions.
We're good to go.
Yes.
Great.
But I did want to thank Albert on the phone. I know we threw a couple of last minute curveballs at Albert and he was very responsive and adaptable. I really appreciate that, Albert, and to Jeff.
Yeah,
and
you're welcome.
Julio and Jeff. Really, it's been a great financing team. So we're excited to move forward into implementation.
Been a long time.
Yeah.
So did you get your license? Did you have to pass that test?
Yes, I did get my license, and
You're driving legally.
it was a process.
Yes.
It was a process.
Well, thanks for making the effort.
I'm so sorry, missing my paper.
It's okay.
Yeah.
You were there on the phone. We appreciate that. Thanks both of you.
Thank
You
you.
take care. You. And Jeffrey, to you too. Thank you. And everybody else involved.
Yeah, Uber,
Okay.
Uber would have been expensive up here, huh? From over-
Yeah. Okay, back to.
Okay, back to you, Michael.
Reports. The biggest work effort over the last few weeks and months has been the budget development. Really productive discussion at Finance Committee yesterday in discussing the draft for the first time. We're gonna repackage it a little bit and get it out to the full board. Probably here in the next week, well in advance of the next board meeting. Sooner than the agenda packet would normally get to you. We'll get the draft budget out. So board members have more time to look through it. And then, so we'll do a presentation and discussion, I think at the regular board meeting on June 8th. Unless that agenda starts to look overcrowded, we could do a separate budget workshop. But I think at this point, we're shooting for a regular meeting on discussion on June 8th and then bring it back to the full board on June 22nd.
Because in the past, we have had budget workshops.
Yeah, we've done it both ways.
Uh-huh.
And I think if there's not a lot on the agenda, we can
Then
handle
we'll
it
have
during, and I'll
adequate
be in
time.
touch with President Cicada on how we want to handle that. We just, it's obviously such an important item. We don't want to rush it or not have enough time to dive into it. So if we feel like we need to set up a special meeting workshop, we'll do that.
You know, I just want to say that I really thought the budget that they presented was just really well written. I have a problem talking today.
Well written.
And, you know, they did in fact, it's in the finance committee package if you want to look at it, everybody got one. But, you know, they had the summary of the budget, kind of broken columns down by a department, but you got to go see all the drilled down items. So if they had 50,000 for computers, you could flip to the other page and see how they arrived at that number. And it just is really, really, I love the presentation. It was really good. I enjoyed seeing it that way.
Good, appreciate that. Yeah, we put a lot of work into it. I think there's some improvements we could make to it even more, so to make it even easier to understand.
Just
So
how you
we'll-
packaged it, that's all, but. that
Yeah,
was-
we'll
we
we'll
worked-
package it up again and send it back out for the whole board to review.
Yeah, give yourselves a couple of weeks to look at it and not have,
Really
you know, 4
absorb it.
days. Yeah, Yeah,
And you
it
will
was
do
really
that,
nice.
won't you?
I was
Yeah.
really impressed at all the work they all did. So,
Scott promises.
okay, Michael.
All right, next, we were hoping to have a slurry line agenda item on the agenda today. We're still working on water supply agreements, and I wanted to make sure we kind of vet those with potential customers before we bring them back to the board, so they have an opportunity to provide feedback to make sure they're going to work. And we're still working through some details with NCPA. So it wasn't quite ready for today, but we hope at the next board meeting, we'll bring that item back to the board. We had a ribbon cutting ceremony at Sheep Ranch for the water tank project that we implemented with the county. Really great event, really good turnout. Really well covered. I saw it in the local media. Jessica and her team did a really good job of organizing the whole thing. We got to use the giant scissors for the first time, and they worked fabulously. Director Cicada was there. It was really just a really great, event to celebrate a successful partnership between us and the county. I think, relatively small project, but really great outcome, and hopefully something we can build on.
And
And
tell me
then-
what happened an hour
And then the
afterwards.
fire.
About an hour and a half after we left, a fire broke out
Yeah.
just down the street from the new tank, and Damon and his team had just shown
Were you
CAL FIRE.
smoking, Cindy?
Oh,
Yeah.
not me.
Had just shown CAL FIRE that morning how to use the new hydrant and where to hook up to it, and sure enough, that afternoon they were pulling off the new water tank for fire suppression. So the timing of that was pretty remarkable, as if we needed a reminder of the severity of the wildfire risk out there.
There was another fire out there 2 days ago.
Yeah.
It seems awfully staged to me.
Michael did it.
Did I mention how aggressive and fantastic our new external affairs manager is? It was not a stunt, I can assure you. We wouldn't be that risky. I don't know. If we get desperate, I suppose maybe we would. We also had a town hall meeting in West Point, probably our most successful yet,
I
not a
think
single
so, yeah.
complaint from any customers.
There was
And
at least what, 75, 80
75
people?
to 100 people
Really?
probably, yeah.
Wow.
No.
Oh.
Actually, only one customer showed up, and she was the one that let us into the building. But we did
I was
Yes,
planning on
guys,
calling
yeah.
Les and I didn't, but you know.
we did have a very good discussion with her.
Really, I had to be honest.
We did have a very good discussion with her. She got dedicated, I think, 8 staff to
Yeah,
one
yeah.
customer ratio. So that's pretty impressive. I think in the future, we're gonna try to piggyback our events on other community events that are already happening, because we've seen that before,
Makes
where
sense. Yeah.
if it's just a CCWD event, sometimes we don't get the turnout that we hope for, because staff had put work into a presentation. We were ready to share a lot of really
Yeah,
good
they had
information.
the Video up there and everything.
yeah.
Look, they did a really good
No,
job setting it up.
And we still want to do that, but I think maybe finding opportunities where the community's already come together, we'll shoot for that in the future, but we're going to keep going with the town hall rotation and see.
Like
if we
what
can-
Jess said, though, is when they're reaching out to folks, they'll say, well, is there a rate increase? And she'll
Right.
say, no. They say, oh, okay. So then they don't want to show up.
Nothing to complain.
Anyhow, we tried and you guys did a great job.
Well, that's a
Looked
good sign. There,
Yeah.
that means there's nothing to complain about.
Exactly.
That's the way we're going to interpret it. That's right.
Yeah.
But speaking of outreach, thanks to Jessica and some last minute coordination with Joel, we had a booth at the fair
At the fair?
that looked really nice. So I know I stopped by and saw it. I don't know if was it able to stay all weekend? Okay, yeah, and our video was playing. It looked really nice. It was great.
Where was it?
Good.
It was in the, inside the exhibit hall.
the big
I don't know what
hall?
They call that one, the big hall, yeah. Yeah, it looked really, really nice. We had a camera meeting last week. And I think the main topic of discussion in camera right now is really a discussion of the review of the bylaws of UMRA. So the GMs of the agencies are going to meet to talk about whether we need to make any changes to the UMRA bylaws. Then just the normal updates. Oh, we had a presentation too from the Green Gen group that's proposing the Moak battery storage project, which is still in the works. They're still aggressively pursuing that. So we are, sorry, was there a question?
No.
We reschedule the normal engineering committee meeting would be the week of July 4th. We wanted to try to schedule that sooner. Very much appreciate the significant extra effort Director Thomas is making to be available at a time that works well for staff and everybody else. So, and this is violating my own rule of no surprises here for the engineering staff, but we've finally confirmed it will be on June 16th. The afternoon of June 16th. Yeah.
Did you reach out to those customers that were here at the last
We'll let them
meeting?
know. Yeah, we hadn't nailed.
I'd
date
like you to
down
give them
until
a,
yesterday, so
definitely a big notice for that.
yeah,
Yeah,
we
I
had
made
heads
kind of
up.
a push for that meeting, and I'm a little disappointed that you can't do it in June when they're here like they said, but.
It'll be in
June
June.
6th.
Yeah.
Right, but I thought I requested it was going to be June 7th.
So the
And,
problem, there's a few problems with June 7th.
It's okay.
Yeah.
I just want to make sure that the folks in the audience can attend,
We'll
and if
give
they
them an
can,
update.
then you need to reschedule around them, I would say.
On June
know.
the 16th,
Yes,
that's Cindy's birthday.
Oh, my goodness, it is.
that was the other.
Oh, is
You
that the
ruined
other one?
surprise. That was the main reason we did it. And then we also have in June, and I don't want to steal any thunder from Director Ratterman, but the Mountain Counties tour of the Caldor Fire with those agencies is coming up. It looks like a really good event June after our board meeting on the 22nd, and then the Thursday following and the Friday morning after that. So it looks like a great Mountain
Well, you
Counties event.
didn't want it, but you stole the whole thing.
And then I'm planning hopefully to be on vacation the week after that. So,
Woo-hoo.
The week of the 26th,
The 20th, yeah, the week of the 27th.
and you'll be gone all week?
That's the plan. We'll see how it goes. Let's
Okay.
get budget approved first and then I'll confirm. I think that's it.
Perfect.
Okay,
I'm looking at my watch, Jeff.
okay.
So, thank you, Michael. We're going to move on to board reports, information, future agenda items. So let's start with Jeff.
I have nothing to report.
Okay, thank you. Russ?
Well, I have, I'm pleased to report that it's hot in Phoenix. Is it hot in Calaveras County?
It's hot.
It is.
Yeah,
It's 99 in Murphy's.
Okay. I'll be back next week and then I'll be back in the county for about 3 weeks and then I'll be headed back down here. So I'll be attending remotely the board meetings for several weeks after that. But anyway, this has worked well for me, this meeting today. Hope it's been okay from your end.
We're glad you can attend remotely or not.
Okay. Anyway, that's all I have to report. Thank you.
Thank you. Russ.
Although your hat is still here. And
Oh, it's right here. I won't let anybody touch it.
we'll just hang on to it till you're back in the building.
Okay, it's in your seat.
Okay, thank you for that.
All right, Scott.
Two things. The June 20th, the Aqua JPA Property Program Committee meeting is taking place in Roseville. I will be attending that. I very well might be doing it remotely, but I'll be in attendance to that meeting. I've been working on with Aqua, the local government committee has a working group called Fixed Cost Work Group, and they're working on or discussing putting fixed costs of water bills on the property tax bill in local counties. And I guess it's something that has been going on for quite a while in several special districts, cities, counties take advantage of putting the sewer bill, just as a matter of practice. They don't send out sewer bills. They automatically go onto the property tax bill and they send them to the county. And there's a process of doing that. And we have a meeting on June 6th. We presented at I presented at Region 3 Aqua meeting what the local government or the local government committee's been up to and what they've been doing at our meetings. But I've been working on that group for this year. We probably had 3 or 4 meetings already and have prepared a fact sheet that is on the Aqua website right now. I have a copy of it I could circulate, but I'd like for a future, that's my report, but for a future agenda item, I'd like to look at that. At number 1, putting what the local government group is going forward is looking at putting together legislation and working with our California legislation or the Aqua state legislation team, which Michael is the chair of, to put together some suggested legislation that would help counties, cities, special districts put the fixed portion of the water bills on property tax bills, similarly to what those same agencies are doing with the sewer bills. But I'd like to see if staff could bring this agenda item forward to see what this is a future agenda item, how our district might be able to, I mean, it would simplify customer service, simplify billing.
For the sewer portion.
Just for the sewer, which a lot of people are doing right now. And the one thing that is keeping water districts or the water portion bill for districts that do both is the word sanitation doesn't seem to include water bills or water departments. And that's the word in the state code. I can't remember which health and safety code. There's a section identifying or defining sanitation bills, and water doesn't seem to fit in there. So that's what the legislation going forward. But even right now, putting the fixed, or not the fixed portion, but our sewer bills as a matter of just our process of billing. We bill the owner of the property anyway. So anyway, that's at Murphy's Sanitary. Have you ever thought about doing that, or do you send out bills?
Started thinking about that.
Okay.
We send out monthly bills, and we don't have very many customers. We're talking, 1,200 customers, so it's not that bad. But
Let's
I could save
agendize
money
that.
down.
So
Go ahead, Jeff.
we'll put it on the
Let's not
agenda
have a
to
discussion.
discuss the pros and cons of that approach. We do use that teeter plan for past due.
Yeah.
The
both on
teeter,
water.
this isn't the teeter plan, though. You're aware of that. The teeter plan is for past due, overdue, delinquent.
Right,
It says
right,
nothing.
right.
This is just every single portion of the sewer bill being passed on to the property.
Yeah,
owner.
I'll have to
So,
take a look. We'll
Michael, you
agendize
can
it.
agendize
Yeah.
that and let's see what.
Yeah.
we
Jeff,
can
you
do.
got-
Jeff had a
Curious.
comment.
No, he just wants to agendize it because we're off
Move
on
the meeting
agenda
along.
here, so
So Scott, anything else?
No, that's it.
Thank you, Scott.
we'll agendize it.
Bertha?
Yes, Calaveras Conserves. I want to know what, if we could have a readout about
An update on the agenda,
Yeah.
next agenda? Okay.
what's happening.
We'll bring that back too.
Because it's getting more critical every day. And I just want to make sure that we're,
Yeah, you might see the
completely
new
immersed in
signs that Jessica worked on. There's new signs all over the county that are up already, but we'll report back to the board on those activities.
Anything else?
That's it.
Awesome. At the IRWM, the T-Stand IRWM, the WAC meeting was canceled, but we did have a JPA meeting. We went over the work plan. The annual fee stays the same. And then for an agenda item, one of our JPA members said that CCWD has the shared resources put together with other agencies. Can we get an update on that, whether in a report or on the agenda?
Sorry,
You know what
how
I'm
is that
talking
related to the IRWM?
Because JPA, one of the members in the JPA, Ron, said that CCWD has put together the project to share resources. And he was saying, oh, and it's going to work really good or has worked real good. So I thought, okay. So maybe you can give us it's like sharing, like if they need a generator or labor or
with
something. I remember
TUD.
you
Yeah,
talking
yeah.
about that at some point.
Is it Ron Ringen you're talking
Yeah.
about?
Between CCWD and TUD, not an IRWM
Well,
thing.
the entities within the IRWM, I guess it sounded like, anyhow, maybe we just have an update of how that is. If there, is there anything to update?
Well, so we've had meetings just between agencies about mutual aid, a mutual aid agreement essentially. But yeah, we can report, well,
Yeah.
that would come to the board. I think it would come to the board anyways, so.
Is that during a disaster or a fire or something?
There's different ways to do it. That was part of the discussion. We had a really positive meeting with Don Perkins, the GM at TUD, and Abby, their HR manager, and there was